What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Juice. We're your hosts, Wyatt Frank and Shane Campbell. And we have got a pretty big name guest on today, I would say.
I know. Big name.
It's exciting.
I'm a little nervous.
I ain't never been scared.
He sounds like a super cool dude. We've had a couple brief conversations. We were going to record with him the other day. Got a little busy.
Right, yeah.
You know,
he was
golfing.
He was here for the MLF Pro Circuit.
The Pro Circuit, stop number one of the 2022 season. So they just wrapped that up. I'm embarrassed to say, but I don't even know where he finished. I didn't really look at the results.
Yeah, so it's Justin Lucas. We haven't mentioned his name yet, so, I mean...
Hammer.
I think if you're a fan of the sport, you know who Justin Lucas is.
One of the top 10 names.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Top 5. I mean, like, he's huge.
Yeah, that's a pretty big name. I think he's definitely one of the... I know for me growing up, being a fan of the sport, he was kind of in that era of one of those guys that I kind of watched grow into what he is. So it was... I've always been a fan of the guy. So it's exciting to have him on the show, and we're going to get to discuss some pretty... big topics. We're giving him a chance to tell his story. We've got some also a chance to discuss some big topics that I think is going to be really interesting. So,
So I'm ready to get it going because I know he's a busy man. So we finally got him pinned down for an hour here. So let's just without further ado, let's get the guy on the phone. See what he's got to say. Drop some knowledge, some juice. I wonder where he's at. If he's still in Texas, we'll ask him.
He probably got the hell out of here.
Hello.
Hey, man, what's going on?
How you guys doing?
Doing good, man. We were just talking.
One on the call or just two?
We got Wyatt on now.
Yeah. It's me. It's Wyatt. It's Wyatt and Shane. Both of us are here.
Okay, good deal.
Yes, sir.
Wyatt was eating a taquito while we were doing our audio testing.
It was a Crispito.
Oh, dude, the last time I had taquitos was from the Dollar General over there by the stump. It was all me and Jordan Lee could find to eat to take back to the house we were staying at by there.
How long did it take you to regret that decision?
Probably, at least through the tournament.
That's awesome.
I hear you. Well, man, we appreciate you coming on. I know you're a busy guy. Where are you at right now? We were just wondering, did you drive all the way home or?
Yeah, I drove back home. So I live in Guntersville, Alabama, and I drove back home. And my family's going to travel with me to this next event. We were going to leave this morning from Monroe, Louisiana, going to Lake D'Arbonne and then Caney. Okay. But they paused our practice basically because of the bad weather that's going to be there tomorrow. It's supposed to be like freezing rain, blowing 10 to 20, and high of like 37 degrees or something. So pretty miserable conditions. I think all the guys are pretty happy that they said, "Hey guys, we're just going to pause and delay practice a day." So
so does that shift the whole tournament? You get the same amount of practice, same amount of tournament days, I guess.
Yeah, so the way they're going to do it is we'll all get one day bone, and then on our off day we'll be allowed to go to Caney and check that place out.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Cool.
Yeah, so it worked out pretty good. No one wants to fish when freezing rain. Well, at least I don't. I'm pretty sure out of 79 other guys, I don't think any of the guys do.
No.
I would assume.
We got that Brandon Belt Derby that starts tomorrow, and they are not calling it. We're going.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's going to be it. So you just real quick before we dive in here, you did just wrap up the Rayburn event, and I would say, before you guys even got here, obviously we were on the water practicing during the week for the Brandon Belt tournament. There's a lot of local pressure, so I know it didn't help y'all out any. But I say for personal experience, being around the lake and being around here for a while, that's some of the toughest fishing I've seen this lake put out for a long time. I mean, how did that event kind of go for you? Give us a rundown on your practice and the event real quick before we go into your story here.
Yeah, I mean, it was a struggle for me, especially compared to last year. I had a great tournament there last year. Had a lot of fun. Figured out how to catch some fish during the event, really, and even then, last year in March when we were there, it was getting better as the tournament went on, but we were just post frontal after that big Bass Champs tournament, all those crazy weights. And, we saw what happens when a front comes through. It just shut those fish down, and it was hard to catch them even over 2 pounds. People were like, oh, we got to have a 3 pound minimum it's Rayburn, blah, blah, blah. I mean, shoot, if it would have been a 3 pound minimum, we would have had very few fish weighed in the first couple of days of the tournament just because it was still post frontal. But this week, it just wasn't good for me. I never caught a fish over like 2 3/4 pounds in 4 days, 2 days of practice and 2 days in the tournament. So I was just doing something wrong. I'm still honestly not totally sure what I did wrong, but that lake I fished it a few times now. It leaves me scratching my head more than making me feel like I figured something out. Last year I certainly did, but this time it's just a big, intimidating place,
Right.
I tried to stay right there at the 147 bridge and stay at the canyons, and I think Michael ended up winning at the canyons. But those fish, it's crazy. I threw a jerkbait like basically right where he was, all around that area. One of the days of practice, and I never even had a follow on it, like on live scope or anything. And then, and even him, I heard him talk a little bit, talking about how tough practice was, and he figured that jerkbait out, that deal, and where they were sitting the second day of the event, and then it was lights out from there for him. So
yeah,
it's just so specific at that lake. It gets so much pressure. You really got to be dialed in on something specific to have a great event, and I never found that.
No, I agree. I heard Michael Neal make the comment that he really just wanted to catch like 12 a day and get out of there, at Rayburn and survive it, So and it is kind of a day-to-day deal out there. I think that deal kind of got better for him as the event went on and they set up better for him. So
absolutely,
that's probably why it just kind of worked out in his favor there. But yeah, that's in it. You hear from a lot of the guys that come down to Rayburn, a lot of the pros, that it has their number, and I think it's because it's so ever changing. And I think me and Shane kind of talk about it all the time. It's kind of a blessing and a curse, this being our home lake, because it does make you adjust and change a lot. So it is good as an angler to have that thrown at you all the time. But then again, it sucks sometimes when you've got some of these bigger tournaments rolling around. But I definitely agree that this week was one of the tougher weeks I've seen at Lake Fish.
Very, very tough.
Very tough.
Yep, I agree.
The pressure didn't help you guys either. So
no.
I mean, how bad was it with the spectator boats and the other tournaments being on top of you guys?
I just come to know that as Rayburn now, so it's not even. And I live at Gunnersville, but Rayburn's, it's crazier there than anywhere. And I'm not saying it in a bad way, because I know people want to get on the water, and they have every right to be out there just as we do. So I'm not complaining about it. Now, I didn't get any spots poached off me or anything like that specifically, but and that would certainly change my mind a little bit about it.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter where you're at. If somebody sees you catch fish and they come over and fish that spot because of that, it's wrong. It doesn't matter if it's Rayburn or wherever.
Gunnersville or wherever.
But with the amount of boats that are on Rayburn, the odds of somebody seeing you catch fish are much higher, just naturally, with how many people are out there. So that happens. It happens at Rayburn, but it happens anywhere. If people see you catching fish, and they're not catching them like you are, they want to test out the spot you found. But anyway, So there's a lot of people out there. Saturday was really crazy. It just blows my mind how many people are bass fishing these days.
Yeah.
I'm 35, so I've been fishing tournaments a long time, and I've never seen as many people bass fishing that there is now. It's crazy. Our industry is really, really growing, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I wish every state would act like Texas Parks and Wildlife, because I think you guys manage it better. And are able to deal with it and fit, all these people on these lakes like that compared to other places. Sure. Other states, they're just not doing it nearly as good of a job as Texas is.
Yeah, no, Texas really sees bass as a resource, and they manage that resource well. Not just, a resource for fishermen, but as far as economically how it impacts local regions. So they're very mindful on how to keep that going.
It's super cool. I mean, honestly, I wish Alabama. I love living here. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I wish they'd spend a little more time and effort.
Sure, man.
Because there's a lot of pressure on our lakes too. Nothing quite like Rayburn, in my opinion. But man, Gunnersville and some of our other lakes here, if we would do some stocking programs and just whatever Texas has been doing, like focus on that and use their model, and try and repeat what they've done, because it is really cool and impressive to see.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
So another thing they did on Rayburn, they canceled, and this is kind of a hot topic for me. I'm real curious on your opinion on this. So they canceled day 2 of the event due to high winds. How do you feel about that decision? I mean, I know safety is priority number 1 for all anglers and even camera boats, not just you guys, everybody that's on the water for the event. What's your thoughts? I mean, because that's totally different from, you look 10 years ago, they didn't care if it was blowing 30 miles an hour to the northwest, you're going.
Yeah, I wish personally we would have gone, but at the end of the day, what I wish personally, it's not up to me. It's up to the tournament director. So it doesn't really matter what I wish personally. It's not like I'm going to go try and play politics and get them to change their mind, at other times down the road. So there's 157 boats. You just don't know when something's going to happen, but something could happen any day out there, on the water. The thing I was most bummed about is I practiced specifically thinking about that north wind. They'd been calling for it for days,
right.
And so not that I was in whatever, like 85th place the first day. Not that I would have caught them, any better, but I feel like at least I knew where I was going to be and out of the wind, and there wouldn't have been nearly as many boats on the water. Instead, on Saturday, I couldn't fish anywhere where I caught one the first day. So it totally changed everything for me. And I think a lot of these guys would have been, at least half the field probably would have been in severe struggle search mode,
Right.
with that wind going on, so everybody would have been, it would have been a tough day that day, but it would have given guys a chance to make up some ground.
Right.
Where I feel like on Saturday, it was just like total cluster out there with that many boats.
Yeah.
Saturday was a beautiful day to be on the water.
Oh yeah.
I would have rather been there the day before, but it's all good. It's all good. I'm
Yeah.
not going to make any excuses.
No, yeah, I understand that, but I could see where to throw a wrench in your plans. I know a guy like Dickie Newberry. I heard him mention that, he's a local out here, and I heard him mention like he was really
Bummed.
Yeah, because that's kind of the way he had planned out the event. Because by the time Saturday got there, like he just alluded to, there was a lot of traffic on his areas, and it made it really tough. So he's going to try to catch a majority of his weight those first couple of days. So
hey, Dickie still caught it. So I don't want to hear nothing from Dickie. Try finishing 101, Dickie, and then we can talk.
Yeah. No, Dickie's a hammer.
I'm just kidding. I like Dickie. He's a stud.
yeah.
Oh, he's a Rayburn legend for sure.
Great fisherman. Yes, he is.
Absolutely. No, man, we see it a lot more, especially on a big lake like Rayburn. Northwest wind is the worst wind you can get, and we see it more and more and more. I mean, they're just not wanting to roll the dice like they used to. Too many incidents have happened, but for a guy like you that put your time in and kind of had a game plan based on the forecast. It's unfortunate, but I'm with you. I wish you guys would have gone. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that bad either. I mean, dude, I've been in big ones on the Great Lakes.
I mean, yeah, you guys go to the Great Lakes and it barely blows and there's 10-foot rollers.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, trust me. That 20 on Rayburn it's still, I know it's big, and guys say they're, I had a guy telling me at the country club, because we went and played golf that day. We weren't going to sit around and do nothing. Had to put a little money on something. So we went and played golf, and had a guy at the country club telling me there were 6-footers out there. I'm like, well,
no.
I mean, were you standing in the middle of the wave, at the bottom of the swell? Were they really 6 feet? Like I've seen legit like 5-6 footers.
Yeah.
And up on the Great Lakes. yeah, I know it blows at Rayburn, but nothing can compare with the Great Lakes. And
Not
how
even
bad they
close.
get
No
up there.
way.
Not-
No way.
So
Not even close, because like, you know, we hear it all the time too. We hear the doc talk, oh, there's 6-footers out there. It's like, no, those are 3-footers.
yeah, we need to get out there with a bunch of tape measures and get these guys put in check.
Yeah. No,
A
it's
bunch of yardsticks.
we're a bunch of softies down here in the South, man. We get a little white cap. We're like, oh no, we ain't doing that.
Yeah, dude, don't get me wrong. I mean, we went out on actually the final day when I went to Erie a couple years ago, and I was legit like a little white knuckled on the steering wheel. Like that one really, I was like, man, I don't know if this was a good idea, you know. And it took me an hour and 15 minutes to go 16. That's how bad it was. So, anyway, that's bad. You know, like I remember stopping at the mouth of Sandusky Bay and like legitimately just looking at my camera guy and being like, dude, are you okay? Like, are you good? And he was like a surfing guy from Southern California. And he's like, hell yeah, send it, bro. Like, let's go. All right.
That's
if you say so, but
that's those
anyway.
days. That's those days when you see the camera boat and then they're filming somebody fishing and they disappear behind a wave.
Yeah.
Like when they're in between swells. It's like, oh gosh.
Yeah. They called off like all camera boats that day. It was just the camera in the boat with the guys and no follow or chase boats or nothing, because it was just like
too western.
It was bad.
Yeah. Well, man,
Anyway.
you've had an amazing career. We were talking to you up before we called you on. Talk about that. Kind of talk about your start in fishing, how you kind of got started and became the hammer that you are now.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I still think I have a lot of work left to do to get any kind of compliments for my fishing. But to be honest, I grew up. I loved baseball and basketball. And when I was 12 years old, if you guys want the whole story, I'll try and break it down quick. But when I was 12, my mom made me go to a friend's birthday party, and his mom took us all down to the levee on the Sacramento Delta, and we went catfishing. And so I was 12 years old and caught my first fish when I was 12, a catfish, and we put it in a big Dorito bag. We had finished our lunch and like saved this Dorito bag, and I remember filling it up with water and putting this catfish in there and watching it swim around. And I'm like, dude, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, I just felt this thing bite. I reeled it in. And when I say small, like I'm talking like a little bit bigger than my hand. And it was tiny, but it was just so cool to me to watch it swim around, and then we let it go. And I'm like, that was really cool. So my parents owned a marine construction company. And so I grew up around the water my whole life, but I just never fished. I thought fishing was whatever, you know, I didn't care about it until that was a turning point for me. So we believe it or not, living in California, we actually lived way out in the country, so far that my parents would pick us up from school and we'd have to go back to work with them every day in the port of Sacramento. And so I would start fishing every day after school over there where my parents had their business running out of. My dad, he built tugboats and barges and rented them out. And then he also worked on bridges in the San Francisco Bay area, making them earthquake proof, and built docks and ferry landings, all kinds of anything marine, you know, involved, construction involved. It was a really neat job, but he didn't care about fishing. And I started to take this liking to fishing. Bing bong. Anyway, I remember I was telling my wife the other day, I'm like, we got to figure out stuff for our boy to do to start making money. Cause I was picking up welding rod in their yard from all the welders that were building the tugboats and barges. And I'd go around and pick them up. My dad paid me 5 cents per stick, but you start piling those things up in a 5-gallon bucket when you're only 12 years old, dude. And I'm sitting there dragging this thing across the construction yard, you know, over to my dad to get some cash so I can go buy more fishing tackle.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's how it really started for me. That's like my first time remembering to make money. or remembering, how I was going to make money to feed this addiction.
Sure.
And anyway, at that point, my dad was only 5'6". I was really small. And I'm like, still I'm pretty small, but I'm taller than my dad. But I said, dude, I'm quitting baseball, I'm quitting basketball, and I'm 13 and I'm going all in on bass fishing. So my uncle, he was a fisherman. He had an old Ranger bass boat. He would take me on the weekends from time to time, and he really taught me the basics of, this is a Texas rig, this is a Carolina rig, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I learned how to, start tying knots and all this different kind of stuff. And I would get all his magazines, that he had left and just read them cover to, front page to back page. And my grandpa, he was a truck driver, and he saw my, that I was really liking this fishing, and he had an aluminum boat that he would just catfish out of himself. He wasn't a bass fisherman, but he said, I'll build a deck and put a trolling motor on here if you want to start fishing with me, and we'll go fishing. And so we started with that, and we did a couple trips, and he was like, this isn't going to cut it. And he went out, and my grandma was so pissed at him that he went out and bought a brand new 16-foot Ranger with a 90 horsepower,
nice,
4-stroke on it. And that was a big purchase for him. He was just a hard working guy, and they didn't have a ton of money, but that to hit them was a big deal. And I remember my grandma being pissed, but my grandpa was happy as hell, because now I wanted to spend every weekend with him, and that's all we did every single weekend.
Way to go,
him
Grants.
And I started. Yeah, we started traveling all over Northern California, fishing, and
mm-hmm.
we got in these little team tournaments they actually had split horsepower divisions. So we were in the under 100 horsepower. And I remember being 14, and we won $681. That was the first tournament we won. And I was working at a pumpkin patch at the time on my time off. And I remember my grandpa giving me a couple $100, and he's like, here, this is for you for the fish you caught today. And I'm going to save some for the rest. I'm going to pay myself for the gas and everything else. I'm like, dude, I just made $200 fishing. Like, that's way better than picking gourds and Indian corn and pumpkins and all this stuff I was doing at the pumpkin patch. So I'm like, I have got to figure out how to really make some money doing this, And so we were all in on all these tournaments, and he was saving a little bit every time we'd win, and he never drove the boat, never ran the trolling motor either. So he kind of left it all up to me, all the decisions and everything. But he was saving a little bit every time we won. And by the time I was 17, I had enough money to go buy a $3,000 boat, and I bought that boat, but was also at the same time pretty much broke because I just put everything on that boat. Mm-hmm. But my grandpa had been saving a little bit from each tournament, and he was saving it for the first time I bought my boat, or bought my first boat. So he gave me a check back for almost that $3,000. So I wasn't totally broke, and I had my boat. And that was kind of that was, looking back, like the coolest part about my whole journey right there, was when he was saving that money up. I didn't really know what he was doing with it. I wasn't even worried about it. And anyway, after that, I was in high school still at that point. I was a senior, and I got out of high school, and I'm like, I've got to start fishing as a co-angler, because at this point I've only fished with my grandpa and a couple friends. And I started fishing as a co-angler and blanked it. I never even caught one. Super discouraged. I'm like, man, I don't know if this is for me, the typical co-angler stuff. I could have made better decisions, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And the very next event, I went out and won it. So now I had a brand new boat that was paid off, and I was 19 living at home, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And I had won a boat with a friend a couple months before that in a team tournament. So I was living the high life. I was 19. I'm like, okay, here's my goals now. Like, now I'm putting myself in a spot where I'm learning, and I've made money, and I'm out of debt. And I was like, go to my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I'm living at home till I'm 23. And she's like, okay, like, as long as you're not partying, and you're working and focused on fishing and going to school a little bit, which I was going to a junior college. And anyway, I ended up getting out of that too, and just totally focused on co-angler. And that really, for me, became my school. We didn't have college fishing back then. And so co-angler was my school.
That was it.
And I tried to fish as many tournaments as I could as a co-angler on the West Coast. I won a few more, and just kind of kept, putting all that away for the time that I would be able to eventually try and go pro. And that's really how everything got started, is from fishing with my grandpa like that into getting in my first boat and then winning those first couple boats and winning a little more as a co-angler after that. And when I was 23, I ended up just packing my stuff up and moving to Alabama. And all my friends in California are like, dude, you're just leaving us? Like, you're just going to Alabama? I'm like, if I'm going to make this work, like, this is what I have to do. And so I've literally just packed my stuff up and drove across the country. I moved in with a guy I'd met out here, Clint Davis, who actually fishes on the Elite Series now.
Yeah.
But I moved into a room with him. He charged me hardly anything for rent. And that was 12 years ago now. And looking back, that was one of I've made a few big decisions, I feel like, in my fishing career. And that was one of them that really, really paid off, and that's kind of how we got to where we are today. I fished the FLW Tour first and then the Elites and now Major League Fishing. And, like I said, I still feel like I got a lot of work to do, or I have a lot to do, and I have a lot to accomplish before I'm going to be satisfied with anything. But we're off to an okay start.
Sure. Yeah, I'd say a little more than okay. So, one of your major accomplishments, that I remember watching, we've been fans of you, Wyatt and I both have, and was the 2018 AOI Championship. I mean, how was that year? So you transitioned from tour to the Elites. I guess you fished the Opens to qualify for the Elites?
Yeah, I did. I actually fished the Opens I was getting my butt kicked on the FLW Tour, and I'm like, God, I've got to get better at, specifically, I was like, I have to get better at dirty water, like Louisiana shallow water fishing, and the Great Lakes. Like, those are the two things that we really didn't have in California. We had shallow water, but it was tidal, and it wasn't dirty water, just like the Red River or whatever, right? So I signed up for the Opens, not even trying to qualify for the Elites.
Oh, wow.
It was more of just like, I need to do this to learn.
Sure.
And I ended up qualifying for the Elites that year, and I had been working with Pure Fishing and Abu Garcia in Berkeley for a long time. And at that point, that was when, they said, hey, you made the Elites. Like, if you want to go that direction, we'd love to step it up with you. And anyway, so that's kind of how, my whole sponsorship with them grew. And I've been with them just a super long time now, but they've stuck by my side through the whole thing.
That's really
it's been
cool.
Pretty cool to watch that.
So they encouraged you to make the move from the tour to the Elites.
They did. Yeah. It was all them, really. And I knew that it was probably a good option, but for me at the time, to be honest with you, I'd had okay success on the FLW Tour, but I was scared of the names, right? Like, I'm like, I don't know if I can go over there and compete with those guys. Like, they did a really good job of putting those guys up, kind of on a pedestal. Like, these are the dudes.
Yeah.
And I was kind of afraid. I'm like, I don't know if I can. I remember talking to my wife, and she's like, well, let's just do it. Let's give it a shot. She had confidence in me. I'm like, well, I'm going to work hard at it. Like, and we'll see what happens. And then I ended up finishing, I think 11th or 12th, my first year in the points. So I'm like, well, that wasn't so bad. Like, I think I can hang over here, and then the next year I got my first win the next year. And then it was just, after getting the first win, that was kind of like, okay, like, I'm really meant to be here. That helps establish where you're at.
Sure.
And it doesn't totally solidify anything by any means.
It's got to give you the confidence to know that you can compete at that level.
Right.
100%.
Did you win that one on the Potomac?
That one was on the California Delta.
Okay.
And then we went, so it was pretty crazy. I literally won the tournament. Like, we used to ride a bus to school early on in my life before we'd go back to work with my parents and all that. So I literally won the tournament driving past where we would make bus stops to pick up my friends and stuff. It was pretty crazy.
Is that the one you caught that giant one off a bed, like behind some docks?
Yeah, man.
I remember that catch. That was an insane catch.
Yeah, I snuck up on that bedfish. There was a little bit of current. What people don't know is there's a little bit of current, and I was I was going head into it, just real slow. I mean, it was behind the marina, so it wasn't strong current, and the tide was incoming. And I'm like, I'm just going to go right up against this bank, throw my top water. I got up there a little bit, and all of a sudden I see this giant up there, and she's just facing the current, and she's sitting on a bed. And I'm like, dude, she has no idea I'm here. And I put the poles down, and within a couple flips, I'm like, oh, this is about to go down, like for real. And it only took less than 5 minutes to get her to bite, and she was I think she was 9 something. So pretty cool.
That's nasty.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you qualified for 4 classics, right? You fished 4 of them?
I don't even know, to be honest with you, but if you say so, yeah. I've never thought about how many I fished.
Well, how many did you? Because you did win on the Potomac.
I won on the Potomac the next year after the Delta.
Okay.
It was kind of weird. Like my first 2 big win, and I got second. I almost won on the Potomac in like 2012 or, but like my 3 best tournaments at that point had all pretty much come on tidal waters.
Tidal waters.
And I'm like, yeah, I didn't feel like, I don't know. I was just, it was really cool, but I'm like, I didn't think I was like some special tidal water fisherman by any means or anything like that. It just happened that it was on those places. And to be honest with you, I've only won on tidal water and Great Lakes. So now I'm like, I just need a win on a freaking regular lake at this point. Like that'll make me feel better. Like something inland, that's not a big Great Lake or big tidal water place. But, you had taught or asked about AOI, and that 2018 year, no doubt, highlight of my career for sure.
Yeah.
For the fact too that like, my grandpa and I growing up fishing these tournaments, we would one weekend be drop shotting for spotted bass in 50, 60 feet of water. And then the next weekend flipping toolies at the California Delta. So just from 13, 14 on, like I had to be really versatile out there to compete in our little tournaments that we were in. And so that's why I was so thankful growing up that my grandpa, we didn't just always go to the Delta. We kind of did everything.
Yeah. And
it played a huge role for me later on in life, 2018 as an example, because I just, I do feel comfortable doing a lot of different things. I don't think I'm like overly great at one thing. It's just kind of like, yeah, he's all right at all, quite a few things here. And that definitely plays a role. If you're going to ever win AOI, you've got to be versatile. You got to be able to catch them in all kinds of scenarios and all that. And I think all the fishermen know, that every one of us that I've met, we'd all rather win a classic for the money or a red crest for the money because it pays the most. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we all know that AOI is like, that's the one, that you really want.
Yeah, that's a huge
best of the year.
Huge accomplishment against the best of the year to get some of the best in the world.
Stacked field for sure.
Yeah.
So talk about that. So after 2018 season, it's the very next year that the whole MLF FLW thing kind of goes down, right? And you decided to go over to Major League Fishing.
Yeah, so it was the next year. It kind of sucked for me because I just went AOI and now I got to make this big decision, and not an easy decision, but for us, or for me, I say us, but me and my wife, we talk everything over. And so, the big thing, I wish there would be an asterisk in professional fishing that, because every time you get on stage, they love to say how much money you won, but they never talk about how many entries you paid. And so, this guy's won 1.5 million, but he's paid 400,000 entries. Now, don't get me wrong. 1 million is still great after that, but after your entries. But we were paying $48,000 a year at that point for entry fees, and people just don't realize that, And I saw a lot of comments saying that the guys that left, they weren't loyal to Bass and all of this. It was like, dude, we were a customer at Bass just as much as a person that's getting the magazine, because we're sitting there paying. Like, yeah, we're paying for your platform, but we're a customer to you. So that was the big push for me, was that, this first year we were gonna have no entries. at all over at Major League Fishing. And then, people started talking about our payback over at Major League Fishing because a guy would only win $6,000 if he made the cut or whatever. But it's like, yeah, he didn't pay $5,700 to be here. He made $6,000. Yeah, but that's the stuff that just gets lost and people make memes about. Whatever. So, and then COVID hits and flips everything upside down. That was just really unfortunate deal. But still, I'm happy with the decision still to this point. I love doing both formats. I'll say that. That's why I fish the Pro Circuit and the Bass Pro Tour. It's really fun to go back and forth between the formats because they both have pros and cons.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, on the Bass Pro Tour, we are paying entry, so I'm paying $40,000 to fish over there, but we're guaranteed $30,200 back. So, I'm getting for basically $10,800. I'm getting a platform that I'm making my money off of sponsors. It's no secret in this sport. Like if you're going to make good money in this sport, you're not just going to make it off of winnings.
No,
you've got to make it off sponsors. So from a business perspective, it's a no-brainer when you look about it. Like, okay, I've got to invest $10,800, and I've got this platform to promote my sponsors, and they're happy, and I'm making, I'm not making less money. So if I was starting to make less money, I would start questioning it. But if I'm not making less money, if you look at it from a business perspective, it all makes sense. So I have no regrets at this point for what's going on.
No,
but yeah, it was a huge shakeup, man. I know a lot of people got pissed and all this, and really the only comment that killed me was the loyalty comment, because I'm like, dude, if you're paying $48,000 a year, you don't have to be loyal to anybody.
Yeah,
$48,000 a year,
man. It's a common theme with everybody we've had on the show, and we talk about it nonstop, and we want to kind of start the conversation and keep it going and get guys like you talking about it. And that is that in our sport, it's the weirdest thing. When you reach the top of the sport, it costs the most to play the game. And it seems so backwards. Crazy. It's so backwards.
Yeah.
But that's you said a word there that really kind of touches on it, and that's you are a customer of bass.
Mm-hmm.
And, even the Pro Circuit.
And at this point, I'm a customer of Major League Fishing, too.
Sure, yeah.
Because I'm paying them. So, but now I'm only, I look at it like just like if you put it on a spreadsheet, I'm out. If I don't catch a bass this year, I'm out $10,800. That's a pretty dang good platform to promote my sponsors on for $10,800. Like, that's how I'm looking at it, And if my sponsors were saying, "Hey, form we want," then I would have to look at my business and go, "Okay, well, what's best for my business now?"
I got you.
But until it doesn't make sense, I'm a customer. In the first year, I would say I wasn't a customer of Major League Fishing because we paid no interest that year.
Yeah.
And that was just a straight up $48,000 raise, for every single guy.
Straight to the bottom line.
Yeah. So that was a big deal. But I know COVID, really the problem with COVID was, the companies were unsure of what was going to happen. So a lot of people were trying to get money back, or everybody had things happening, anglers, leagues, probably podcasts. Everyone was renegotiating with sponsors because no one knew what was going to happen.
Right.
I don't think anybody saw how big it was going to blow up bass fishing. It's like if COVID was good for one thing, it's good for this industry. Hopefully that'll eventually go, to the pro level where guys can say, "Hey, yeah, now I'm not paying as much to be a professional," and I'm able to put a little more money back in my pocket. But
for sure.
And you're not going to get. I tell you, like if you're trying to be a fisherman, to be like, you think it's just going to be all this, like, it looks glamorous and it looks like everybody's making bank, but not everyone's making bank. There's probably I'd say 20% of the guys are making good money, but most of the guys, people are out here making a decent living, but you're doing something that you love to do.
Sure.
So,
correct.
Dude, I'm never going to complain about it. I'd rather do this and make $30,000 a year and figure out how to change my lifestyle to live off of $30,000, and be able to do this than then not do it now, especially now because it's been my life for so long. It'd be really hard for me to go back, and have to get a job. I don't even know. I'd have to go back to a pumpkin patch, I guess.
Go picking gourds again.
So I'm so thankful for the job, but it's also a luxury at the same time. Just the fact that I'm so lucky I get to chase fish around, for a living. I'm not complaining about nothing, man. I'm just very, very thankful for everything I've got.
No, absolutely.
I wish most of the fishermen would feel the same way, because at the end of the day, like, what do you really have to complain about? I'm watching my mom. She got diagnosed with cancer a couple months ago, and she's going through chemo right now. And look at Aaron, what happened with him. And it's like, dude, what do we really have to complain about?
Yeah, gain some perspective.
Yeah.
Man, my perspective has changed so much the last couple of years. And, I've got kids now too. So like, I'm just trying to have a fun life. That's it, and I'm not trying to make millions and millions of dollars bass fishing. I'm just I just want to catch a few and have fun doing it.
Yeah, that's a great perspective.
Good outlook, for sure.
That's about as good as an outlook as you can.
Man, that's
you can have.
And the other thing too, is like a lot of these people now it's like clout, they're getting into it for followers on social and media or YouTube subscribers or whatever, right? So, and there's whatever, nothing wrong with that. But like most of the guys that make it to this level, they don't get into it for that. I mean, hell, social media wasn't even around when I was growing up, so I never got into it for followers or anything like that. And that's what I tell young kids now. I'm like, yeah, all that will come if you start having success. But if you really love it, like, just focus on the fishing and focus on kicking people's butt in tournaments, and then everything else is going to fall into place.
Mm. No, that's a very, very, very cool outlook.
Yeah, that's what out of any guest we've had, that's probably the best answer we've kind of received. Because I mean, that's true, and I'll say this. I mean, it's when you mentioned making the change from bass. You mentioned them making you or not make, or like you said, you're a customer, but they were charging you that fee to fish their events, and it was a high fee. Well, when all of y'all moved over there, y'all did that as a group. And as a collective group, you cost change for bass because now they have now lowered their entry fees. Is that not correct? The entry fees aren't $48,000 a year now, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I don't know what they are now. I know that I think there were some guys that got paid like big bonuses to stay, and there's definitely, it ended up being better for the anglers all the way around.
Yeah. Agreed.
So you're 100% right. Like, it was. Finally, some people stood up and said, enough is enough. And did it all work out like it maybe should have or could have or would have? Probably not. There's things that could be changed looking back on anything.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But did it help the pro anglers? I think it helped them some, for sure.
Yeah.
But, I still hear stories. Like, I had a friend, that he was buying some tackle off of a guy. I won't say who. But who's a professional fisherman and fishing on one of the big tours. And the guy's like, I'm trying to sell this stuff so I can get enough money to pay for my wrap. I'm like, gosh, man, like, we're still there, it's still not to the point where, like, this guy's selling rods and reels trying to get enough money to pay for his wrap. I'm like, that's just still backwards, but hey, whatever,
No, you're right. And that's why I was, when you kind of mentioned the social media thing. I think there's a whole, because of the way it is now, there is kind of a flip side to that, to where, like, it's kind of tough sometimes to get sponsors. Like, I know guys that straight up catch them that don't have social media, and they're not getting sponsored dollars as much as a guy that's got 60,000 subscribers on YouTube. Like, that's the way the game has gone, and it really does suck. But I feel like you talked about it being a business earlier. If you don't treat it as one, and the guys that help you and got your back, your sponsors, if you're not representing them on social and stuff like that, it can be tough. Like, to get those sponsors.
So from a business perspective, you got to look at it like, okay, this has never changed in professional fishing. It's still as true today as it was 20 years ago. Whatever. If you can only catch them, you can make okay money, maybe. If you can only be marketable, you can make okay money. But if you can catch them and you can be marketable, you have a chance to make decent money.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree with
and so that's still that sentence right there. If you can catch them and you're marketable, you can make decent money. Like that's the truth in professional fishing still.
Right.
And I wish it would get to like golf one day where it doesn't matter if you're a good golfer, you're going to make good money.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and plenty of people have a chance to do it, right? Like,
correct.
There's so many people trying to be professional golfers. Now it's really expensive too to try and chase that dream. My brother did it for years. But anyway, hopefully we can eventually one of these days get entries down, get more of these young guys to chase it out of college, try and be professional, and know that once they actually made it, they made it, you know, and it wasn't like, well, now I got these huge expenses. Because to me, to the young guys, my thing is I preach like staying out of debt. That was the big thing for me that allowed me to do it, was being able to win those boats early on at a young age, you know, and keep the debt down. Because if you're out there trying to catch fish and you have this pressure, you know, this huge weight on you, the pressure of payments that are due, you can't be the fisherman that you truly could possibly be.
Correct.
With that going on, you can't perform at anything. It doesn't matter what job you've got. Right. It's not just fishing. But it's harder to perform at any job when you've got that pressure. So I always preach to the young guys too. And I'm really this year really focused on trying to start like a Justin Lucas Code of Pro Foundation, because I want to encourage 22-year-olds out of college. Hey, like I want to get some guys that were paying their entries as a co-angler, you know, and get them in a whole Toyota series or whole Bass Open series and start wherever we can, but then hopefully build this up to where we can do it for several guys. And if you're good enough as a co-angler, you'll win a boat. And then if you win a boat, you can hopefully move up to the next level as a pro or whatever in a Toyota or in a Bass Open. So hopefully maybe try and bridge a little bit of that gap there and you know, for some of these young guys that are getting out of high school and college, because I feel like that co-angler section has been kind of lost in fishing. All the emphasis has been put on high school and college. And I think those are still great, but I think that the co-angler is still really important from a financial perspective and learning perspective. You know, and the thing is, there's only so far like A. Jordan Lee and A. Jacob Wheeler. Most guys in professional fishing, you really don't start to get in a good groove of enough knowledge and experience until your late 20s. And then most guys don't hit their prime until late 30s, early 40s, you know, when you're still young enough to go hard all day on practice and everything. But you've also got enough knowledge and experience under your belt that you can mesh the two together and really have some great seasons, you know?
Yeah.
Man, that's really dropping some knowledge on
powerful
the juice,
stuff
man.
Here.
Dropping some knowledge. That's awesome.
I like
get me
all
fired
that.
up, man. All these, you know, I love, don't get me wrong, like, I am thankful, you know, for my boat and everything, but everything just, you know, and it costs a lot of money. It's all relative for the most part, right? Like when everything goes up, we're seeing it right now. Like everything goes up over time. So, but boats are expensive, trucks are expensive, everything's expensive. But to the young guys that want to do it, I'm like, you don't have to have all of the brand new stuff. Like make a plan for getting to where you can get the brand new stuff, you know, and be passionate about that plan. And then things will fall into place.
Yeah,
if
man,
it's meant to be. Some guys, it's just not meant to be. But if you're good enough, it's going to work out.
It's going to happen. Man, that's a great point, man. You've touched on a lot of really cool stuff. So keep us in the loop on that organization for sure.
Awesome.
I'd love to see you do something like that. And we got light bulbs pinging off in my head right now. I mean, we love these kind of conversations. Why we started this. I mean, there's 1,000 other podcasts out there that talk about fishing, and we love talking about that stuff too. But this is the kind of stuff that really interests us and the good conversations we have. And man, you kind of hit the nail on the head of a lot of topics that we've talked about.
Right. And this is exactly why we started the juice. And a lot of other like you said, a lot of other podcasts in the fishing industry touch on, you know, like tournament results and kind of stuff like that. And that's cool and everything, but we're kind of more focused on kind of the stuff that you've talked about today. And I think it's conversations that need to be had because, you know, it can create change and further push the push the dilemma at hand. So I think it's great that you came on the show and talked about some of the stuff you did. We appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys having me on for sure. You got me all fired up, but in a good way. So
yeah, man, you got us fired up. We love it.
Thanks
well,
for.
I want to see things good. I want to see opportunity for people, and that's just I just want good for everyone. Like, not trying to sound dumb or anything like that, but it's really I want people to try and they chase it up, whether it's on the weekend because they love it. I don't want guys fighting in weekend tournaments. Like, can't we all just freaking get along with that fishing?
No,
we love it. We got way bigger problems in the world than trying to double beep a guy's spot. So let's all just enjoy it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right,
yeah,
man. You're right.
Reach to him.
Hey, thanks for getting us fired up. We got $100,000 on the line starting tomorrow. So me and Shane are actually fishing that tournament together. We need to be fired up. So
yeah. Well, my game plan at Rayburn was try not to suck, and I didn't follow my game plan too well. So I hope you guys follow it better than I did.
Yeah, we'll do our best. We'll do our best,
man.
But well, man, I know you're a busy man. You're trying to get on the road. Got your next event coming up. So we appreciate your time.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome stories. I mean, dude, I loved every minute of it. I think people are going to enjoy this one.
People are going to love this one.
I appreciate it. I might have ruffled a little bit of feathers there, but it's all good.
Not at all.
If they got a problem, they can send me a DM and we can work it out. We can work it out.
We'll be sure to tag you on all of our social media posts so you know when it's up. So we appreciate it, man.
Okay, cool.
All
right.
Well,
hey, good luck in the tournament and enjoy talking to you guys. I'll come on anytime you want. So.
All right, man.
Awesome, man.
Good luck this season.
Thank you all. Take care.
Take care. See you.
Bye.
Man.
Dude.
What a great dude.
What a cool story. How about Gramps?
Man, how about that, dude? That's one of the sweetest stories I've ever heard about bass fishing. That grandpa did everything in his power for his grandson, man.
Yeah.
He did. He
putting money in the shoebox for him and all that, trying to save up and awesome story. I mean, if you like good stories, if you don't like that story, there's something wrong with you.
That was
a great story.
Yeah.
I mean, and then we got him stirred up there at the end. That's what I was trying to get to. Like, come on, man, future of fishing here. Where are we going?
Yeah, and
he's got some awesome ideas.
I don't know. I never knew Justin Lucas personally, so it's kind of hard to form. You always think about some of those guys like KVD, what he'd be like in your head, or some of them guys like that, like Brandon Pollock, and then you actually get to talk to him, and you're like, damn, that's not what I was expecting. And that's kind of the way it was with Justin Lucas. Just then it's like, I don't know. I mean, not that I had any negative thoughts about it.
You think he's going to be a bad dude?
I didn't think he was going to be a bad dude. It's just like, man, he's like, that guy's like a true visionary, like a pioneer kind of. Like
he's got something, man. His little foundation he was talking about, dude. I don't know if you like my eyes. I was like, wow. Light bulb, bing, 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 bing. I mean, what a great idea. Not trying to poach your idea, man, but that's a fantastic idea to have that Coda Pro thing that he was talking about.
Yeah.
Form a group to kind of help get some of these guys off the ground. Some other great advice he gave that, man, I think a lot of people need to listen to, and this is what's wrong with this is the bad part about social media. Social media is a great platform to promote your sponsors and do what you need to do, and sponsors love to see that.
Yep.
The downside is it creates this image that people are trying to mimic. And what I mean by that is they're so focused on how it looks versus what they're actually doing.
Right.
And so, I mean, he made some great points there. If you're a young cat trying to get into fishing and trying to make it, don't worry about when you put your boat in the water that everybody's got a brand new, latest model, brand new everything, 14 graphs, 16-inch screens.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that stuff, man. That stuff will come if you focus on the grind and what you're trying to do, and that's fish and be good at fishing.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's huge. Everybody's so concerned with having the wrap boat and the latest and greatest and all the stickers on the jerseys and trucks and stuff. That's not gonna. That just costs money.
No, and look, and I'll be the first to. I don't want to say admit, but like, I do have a really nice boat, and I've got updated electronics. But
sure.
I feel like my first boat wasn't that way. I know I'm only 26 years old, but like I'm just using that as an example because we're sitting here saying this, but me and Shane we do have nice rigs, and but Shane's worked his tail off to get to there, to get to that point. And I feel like I've done everything that I could to get to that point. So I think when you see that, even some of the because you do see young guys that maybe they're so young, like they're 18, 19, they've got rigs like that, and you're like, how is that? Well, maybe mom and dad are better off than you. Can't look at you got basically what I'm saying by all that is you can't look like you're saying. Don't look too far into what other people got going on, and just kind of stay within what you got going on and do your own thing.
What's attainable for yourself,
and like he said, just stay focused on your goals. I forget how he said it, but he said,
that's what he said. He said, stay focused on your goals,
and try not to look at other people because that's really tough. That's something that I've done over the last few years. Like, how does this guy have? It
doesn't matter
because it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what they got going on. You got to stay in your own lane and stay goal focused, and good things will happen.
Man,
good things will happen, man.
I'm ready. I'm glad we did that in the morning because like now I'm like jacked up.
Let's go win the day. Let's go win the day.
No, man, that was a super cool episode. Great story. I hope his, Gramps, man.
Dude. Gramps, man.
Gramps. Way to go, Gramps. That's a really, really cool story.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, we got a couple days ahead of us.
Yeah, man. The Brandon Belt tournament's kicking off tomorrow. It's one of the biggest tournaments. It is the biggest team tournament of the year.
You want the updated forecast?
Everybody's been looking forward to it.
Let's check here.
I'd be lying if I said this isn't like the one on the schedule.
This is the biggest team tournament in the history of team tournaments.
Yeah, like it's starting tomorrow. We've got some conditions coming.
99% chance of rain. Northwest wind, 15 miles an hour at 7
15 to 20.
Yeah.
What? It's doing 15 at 7 now?
Oh, the wind shifts at like 2 in the morning. 1 o'clock in the morning, the wind starts blowing out northwest. It'd be gassing all morning and raining.
Me and Shane have accounted for this.
Like he did.
You're correct.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we're going to catch them, but we have accounted for it.
Yeah.
Anyways, biggest team tournament kicks off. We're actually going to go down and see Mr. Brandon Belt, and all the
Williams,
guys.
Carter, and all the guys over there setting up.
Yeah, and we're going to go live.
Maybe.
No, we're going live.
Okay.
We might have to go from our phone, but we're going to go live.
This is going to be posted after that anyway, so.
You could post it now. Just like boom.
Okay, let's go back to the shop and we'll upload it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay.
Anyways, even if we don't, you'll get to see all this. But, man, what an incredible story. We've got some heavy hitter guests, man. I don't know if it's like the past few episodes have really done that much better, or we just got fortunate to come in contact with a couple of these guys. But we got some heavy hitter guests that might be coming soon.
Yeah. I'm hoping we can get John Cox on.
I didn't want to say any names.
I don't mind. Put a little pressure on him. If you're listening, John.
Yeah, I'm sure he's not.
Stand us up.
He's not listening.
Yes, he is.
Yes, John Cox, that's hopefully going to be our next guest. If not, we've got a few other things up our sleeve that ought to be pretty interesting. So,
yeah, man, it's exciting times. We're still having a bunch of fun with this. This is gaining a little traction. So
that episode was that might be one of the best episodes.
That's a big one. That was a good one, dude. He got me jacked up.
Yeah.
Lots of ideas flowing. Well, guys, hope you enjoyed it. We're gonna go do a little tackle prep.
Yes.
And get our minds right. Let's go. Big day tomorrow.
It's game time. Hey, man, Justin Lucas, we appreciate you coming on again, man. Best of luck to you at Darbone, and hope you catch him over there. And till next time.
Next time.